Okay, I think it's recording now, right? Michelle, can you confirm that it's
Yes,
recording?
it is recording.
So this year's grant is $54,000, and then it will be awarded in one of the 5 focus areas. And then, as you know, if you've applied before, you will apply to one of these focus areas. There will be a finalist in each focus area, and then in October, at the annual meeting, each finalist presents, and then our membership votes. Our mission statement is that we are a group of women committed to making a lasting impact by collectively funding transformational grants and raising awareness of charitable organizations within our community. So if you've heard me speak before, or any of our board members, you know that we have a tagline, the impact of impact. And it's not always that you get the award, the grant award, but that you, the raising awareness piece is really important as well. So I am gonna play this video if it allows me to. It did not allow me to. So this video is on our website. If you haven't seen it, just kind of gives you a breakdown of who we are and more about our mission. So super quick, this infographic kind of summarizes what our organization or how we run. We have our membership. Each member pays $1,000, and then that goes into a big pot, and then that big pot is awarded to one of you. And this is important for you guys too, because our chapter is only as strong as the nonprofit to apply. So we want to spread the word and get really wonderful projects to apply so that we can make that lasting impact out in the community. So these 2 hyperlinks, these 2 things are hyperlinks. It will take you to our grant application. I don't want to do that because well, bear with me, people. Here we go. So this is on our website. It is our grant application. It is a editable PDF. So you could type right onto that. The grant process overview also is on our website, and it kind of goes through things that we're going to tell you today as far as timelines for things, different hyperlinks that you might need. It's all on our website, but it's also going to be in this PowerPoint as well, which I'll send to you. So I'm going to turn it over to Dory, who is the co-chair of our grants review committee, and she's going to go over the grant process timeline.
Good morning. Yes, so we IMPACT100 is a wonderful organization, and we get started right away in January through March. This year we extended it a little bit just because of the whole social distancing, COVID-19, but usually January through March is our membership recruitment. We recruit heavily, and then once we have a number of members that we've established, that's when we make our announcement and let you know how much the grant is going to be worth. It's a very exciting time for us. We look forward to that date every year. Then in May and June is your opportunity to attend our workshops and apply for the grant, ask questions and all of that. The applications are due on June 30th. And then all summer long, we will come around, we'll give you a call, and I don't know, we'll see how, we're slowly opening up in Maryland. So hopefully we'll be able to have a face-to-face site visit. If we don't, we're gonna have to do it just like we are right now via Zoom. And then come October, we announce our finalists. And what happens over the summer is we meet in 5 different the grants. You have to apply for a grant in 5 different categories. And out of those 5, we break into 5 committees throughout IMPACT100, the women. And we come, some of us come do site visits, but we meet and discuss the grants, and we vote it. Each of the 5, we vote down into 1 finalist, and those 5 finalists are announced October the 1st. And then, I got ahead of the game. And like I said, the site visits are conducted July through August, all summer long, and then we will choose. And again, the site visits are subject to the guidelines that the governor, or actually the county now, Pittman, has in place for the site visits. Next screen. And as I said, we will give you a call on October 1st and let you know whether you are a finalist, even if you are not a finalist. And then we will prep you on how to present at our annual meeting later that month. You'll also present, you'll give us a summary, and we'll present summaries to our committees and for all of our members, so they know what you represent and who you are before they actually come into the annual meeting. And then at the annual meeting, you'll have 5 minutes to present your project to our membership. And then there's a 2-minute Q&A with the membership directly after your presentation. And then we all vote by a ballot. And directly at the meeting, we find out who our grant recipient is. Yay. I don't want to read this word for word. I'm sure you can see this. Our grant, what we do is we have one person that's on our board, and that person is in coordination with the winner, the person who has won the grant, the recipient. And we, that person is the liaison between you and IMPACT 100 with any questions, with the fund distribution, and all of that. So that's your point of contact. And it changes each year, so the person. If you are not the winner of the grant for the year, what we do ask all of the nonprofits to do is to supply us with a wish list. And this wish list will be posted on our website for a year. And it's things that you might need, because a lot of times what happens is our members get excited about the site visits they've gone to see. And even though you might not win the grant that year, people are excited about your organization, and we still want to be able to help you. So by giving us a wish list, we put it on our website, even if it's just simply, you need a tutor, you need tutors, or maybe you just need baby food and diapers. It could be a whole, lots of different things. We put it on our website, and then our members or anyone who visits the website can see what else is needed in the community, and we can help out in different ways. Eligibility. You all can read this. And especially I know many of you, I recognize so many of your names and organizations, so you've been there and done that before. I guess one of the big questions that gets asked every year at our annual meeting when you all are presenting is how you serve Anne Arundel County. And that's actually the second bullet there is all the activities, resources, the people receiving the funds or benefiting from the funds have to be within Anne Arundel County. That is the main thing that I would take away from there. Obviously, you have to be a nonprofit. Next. There, and there's number 1 again, Anne Arundel County. That's, like I said, that's the big one. That's the question that always comes up at all the annual meetings, is how you're going to help Anne Arundel County, not other counties, just our county. So, and you also have to make sure that in your application, you have shown us how you're going to spend that $54,000. So, let's see here. And please make sure when you fill out the application that you designate which of the focus areas you want to be a part of, whether it's arts and culture, education, environment, recreation and preservation, family, or health and wellness. Now, if you don't know where to place your grant, you could email myself or Elizabeth, she's my co-chair, and we are able to help you figure that out possibly. But we can't tell you what to do, but we could talk you, maybe listen and see what you're thinking. But you do need to pick one of those 5 that pertains to you. And we've had people apply, and I've actually spoken to them after the fact and said, we just didn't feel that you should be in arts and culture, or we didn't feel that you should have been in family or whatever. So make sure you choose the one that you feel that's best for you and your organization.
And I would say also the first bullet talking about spending the money within 24 months, that is something that we are generally a stickler on, that you have 24 months to do the plan that is in your project proposal. But with COVID and uncertainty, that is something that we acknowledge. And if that is something that we need to have a little wiggle room on, we are very flexible with that for this year.
Again, I think these are just, you need to read through. Please make sure you do read through the next 2 slides. I believe it's 2 slides about who we are not providing grants for. Okay, we don't want to pay someone's salary, and there's always an exception to that, and you can read that there. It has to have a sustainability plan. It can't just be a one-time thing. how are you going to keep that person on board even after the grant has been used, and things like that. So please take it up before you fill out the grant and turn it in. Check out these slides. They'll also be in the online of the grant process document. So why you might not be selected. It's there's many different things, as small as not signing the application. Make sure you sign the application. And as I said, when we sit down in our focus area meetings, we go over these and make sure that you, you know, you're fulfilling what we, as an organization, want to see as our recipient for our grant. So we want to make, as I said before, you can read these. So Heather, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would say some of the things that have been, and I don't know if this is on, yeah, the second slide, that the project budget being not clear or well-defined. There's a page in the application that has a table. So the money that is being expended in your project and our grant, that needs to kind of have a zero net gain. So like if your project is $100,000, for example, then you would need to clearly say like where the remainder of that $46,000 would come from. And it just needs to be really clear. You know, having very large budgets, a lot of you have very large budgets in your organization. And we do look at those very carefully to see, you know, we want to make sure that you can handle the money and whatnot. But on that page of the application where it has a table, that to be like super clear and almost like the simpler the better. Really, that's what we look at and say like, okay, if this project is going to cost $100,000 and they have R54, they've clearly said where the remainder is coming from. And so sometimes we've seen project proposals where those tables don't even add up to each other. So those applications are thrown away or, you know, disqualified because the budget isn't clear and well defined. So I would say definitely what Dory said about signing, you know, things as simple as like signing and making sure it's dated and that your board has signed it and whatnot, but also that the budget is clear and well defined. And then your explanation of what you're doing with the money also to be very clear as well. And yeah, no.
The next three, the next three slides, the next three slides are all common errors that we have seen over the years of doing this. And we've already brought up a couple of them, not signing it, not being in Arundel County. So please take a look at these three slides and before you apply, just to make sure that you're not making any errors.
And this slide is basically what we were just saying that Dory had mentioned earlier about site visits, but also using the funding over 24 months. Maybe that's not feasible in this current climate. So we do understand that there might be some flexibility with dates of site visits might have to be virtual or, you know, if they're an outdoor thing. Like I know I did a site visit last year for Girl Scouts and we were outdoors. So that might be with masks and gloves, or it might need to be a virtual site visit. We don't know at this point what our October meeting will look like. So I think this disclaimer just basically says we're gonna do our best to do in-person things, but that just might not be the case at this point. And we're just gonna have to be flexible with that. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. This is our email information and website if you have any questions. But I would say right now, like jump in if you have any questions or if anything that we went over doesn't make sense. Those of you who have applied before, if you have any words of wisdom for our newcomers, you know, please jump in and pop in. This should be as interactive as we can.
No questions?
How many have applied before? I guess you could raise your hand because we can see most of you. Yes. Fantastic. And like I said, our application is an editable PDF. So that should be easy to be able to write on it, save it, and then email it to us by the 30th. Are there any questions that we can answer for you that?
Yeah, Barbara just typed in a question.
Oh, awesome. What do you
She
see
asked, will there be a pre-application this year? I assume she's talking about an LOI.
Right.
Go ahead.
You want to answer that?
Sure. This year we have done away. We're not expecting you to do an LOI. So there's no pre-application step this year for 2020.
The time frame for that was condensed since we allowed our longer membership drive. We wanted to follow up with certain people who said that they were interested, and then maybe we wanted to make sure financially that that was feasible for all of our members. So it took a little bit longer for us to follow up with a lot of those people. So our membership drive went longer than March 30th, which is the normal deadline. So because that time was condensed, we didn't feel like it was really appropriate to ask for an LOI and then the application be due at the end of June. So we are asking that everyone, really go through the application with the fine-tooth comb. There's some parts in the application where you would put in that you are in good standing with the state of Maryland. So we're asking you to do a little bit more legwork in that regard. Given the uncertainty in present, we'll get capacity building within one of the 5 areas. Trish, I don't understand your question. And I don't know if you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
My question has to do with capacity building grants to convert, as an example, to convert an in-person program to a virtual program. That would be a capacity building exercise within health and wellness or education, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And Michelle and Dora, you can pop in. I think that as long as the project is within our mission, then if you can make a case for that, then I think that, yeah, the answer to your question is yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Last year, the Anne Arundel County Food Bank, not Maryland Food Bank, the Anne Arundel County Food Bank won the award last year. And what a timely, as things kind of happened, their project was for a refrigerated truck and commercial grade storage bins so that they can take the food bank out as like a pop-up food bank and go into food deserts. So, you can see how many people they affected, and that was certainly part of, I think, the calculus of our membership during the voting piece at our meeting in October, is that how many people they could impact was huge. Yeah. And then as it turned out, they're doing great work in so many areas of our community right now in this current situation. So I'm very proud of what we did last year as well.
This is Catherine. Yes. I have a question.
Yes.
Okay.
We applied last year, and I'm wondering if we can get any feedback on our grant that we submitted. And if not for last year, if it would happen again this year that we wouldn't get the grant, is it possible to get some feedback?
Yes, I apologize that you didn't get that, but I can certainly touch base with the person who did your grant evaluation and have them reach out to you.
Thank you. That would be wonderful. Appreciate it.
And I apologize that didn't happen last year.
Thanks.
And there's another question from Jordan. Can you explain how the funds are distributed? From what I understand, Impact 100 does the purchasing. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we sort of operate on a reimbursement type program. So for example, I'll just use the food bank's grant as an example, that they got in their grant application, they had a purchase order and a quote from the company who was building their truck. So that was already there. And then we paid the dealership directly for their truck. Same thing for the storage bins. So they had all of those documentations and all those either purchase orders or quotes from businesses included in their grant application. And then we paid for those directly. Does that answer your question, Jordan? These are great questions. I know it's hard to do it online too. It's a little more organic when you're in person.
Any more questions?
So I know, yes.
Oh, I'm
Kate.
sorry.
No, Kate, go.
I just want to clarify because I haven't applied for this grant before. So we went through it pretty quickly, but with the salary aspect, you only accept like people who are significantly impacting the project.
So we don't really pay salaries at all. So if you were to use a consultant, for example, as part of your project, and that consultant's fees were a one-time fee wrapped into your project, then that would be accepted because it's not an ongoing salary. We wouldn't, you know, if you wanted to hire someone new for a year, that would not be accepted. So again, we want to think about the longevity and the sustainability and the impact of the grant. So we want to be able to see that year after year after year. If you had a consultant that came in, and I'm just making this up because it's, I know a grant has been awarded for this particular, for ARC in a different chapter. So ARC had a grant where they wanted to have consultant come in and train all their employees on a certain teaching method to work with children, autistic children. So that grant was approved because the salary was a consultant. They came in, they trained all their teachers, and then going forward, all their teachers now have this training, and then they can train other people. So there is the sustainability and the impact of that money. So it's not like a salary, it's part of your project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great question. I don't know, what do you mean by that, Trish? A match requirement? I'm sorry if I'm asking more questions on your questions.
Sorry about that. Do you require that there be a cash match or an in-kind match or any sort of match requirement?
Michelle and Dory, I know.
No, like let's say we're giving you $54,000 and let's say you're buying 2 refrigerator trucks and we'll cover, the $54,000 will cover 1.5 of that. You need to show us that you've already got the other half of that, those funds, not half, but you know, the other quarter of those funds established already when applying for the grant. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But no, we don't have to have, the only time you need to show us that you have another donor is if you're exceeding that $54,000. Does that make sense?
Yes. So if my project costs $54,000 exactly,
yep,
then
You're good.
the budget should add up to that amount. There's no preference for.
That is correct.
Okay.
But we've had applicants before that go above the 54,000. Maybe they're building a whole new rec center or something, you know, and they have to show us, those other people, how much they're donating, so we know that it is sustainable and it's going to make an impact in Anne Arundel County. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good question too.
Is there another question here? Let me see.
I don't think
Nope.
so.
No, my alert came up. That's all. Great.
All right, if you don't have any more questions, we will wrap things up. Obviously, you can email us anytime if questions come up. If you're, as you're writing your application and you think, oh, I didn't ask this, please feel free to email us. We'll happily answer any of your questions. There is another grant writing workshop on the 4th of June. So if you want to ask a question prior or in person, you're welcome to come to that one as well. There is part of the application at the very end that says that you attended a grant writing workshop, so that you can just, you know, sign that you did that and put today's date that you attended this one. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
It's great to see everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It was nice to see everyone.